All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this new session of the Amazon Brand Conference. This is the fireside chat with David Hellard. Hi, David. Nice to have you here.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
So David comes from Caffeine Bullet, a successful brand that he founded and that is rapidly growing on Amazon. So we're going to be talking more about that and about David. But before I introduce you, let me say a few words about this session about myself. I am Giovanni. I work as a head of seller services in Amazon in Italy, which concretely means in my daily job, I support sellers that are looking for consultancy, strategic consultancy on how to develop their business on Amazon. I was telling David before when we met that I joined Amazon back in 2008 from a startup that Amazon has acquired. And I felt lucky that I could work for Amazon because one of the things that I love the most about my job is really keeping that attitude of working with small and medium businesses, entrepreneurs that are following a dream of growing and boosting their business. And David clearly is one of them. And this session, I shouldn't say this because of all of the other, I think 37 speakers, but clearly this session, even last year, with different sellers was my favorite session because you really get to know your peers, you get to know stories of entrepreneurs and how they're using Amazon to grow their business. So I hope you're gonna enjoy. We're gonna go through a few questions with David, who kindly agreed to kind of tell more about his business. I've just spent only a few minutes with David, but I discovered he's been funding multiple companies. That's his second venture. He's a passionate runner, which you'll find out comes a bit into play when it comes to his products. But you know what? There's no one better than David to talk about himself. So David, please introduce yourself. Stage is yours.
Well, firstly, thanks for having me, and hello everyone from around Europe. I'm David Hellard, and I'm the founder of Caffeine Bullet. My background is I love running, and so Caffeine Bullet we created because it's something I wanted. And so I think we're going to talk about what the product is in a bit, in a few slides. But yeah, I love everything about brands, and Amazon's been fantastic for us. So I'm really happy to be able to share what we've learned and hopefully help you guys with growing your businesses.
Very good. David, you're already like hinting on it, a runner, a product you wanted, I know you're here to share your experience, but let's start sharing your product. What is Caffeine Bullet?
So, and just to say, we've got a couple of slides here that I've only checked these slides this morning, so it's completely my fault. This is from our brand store. Because we're a one product brand, we've not really put a lot of time into our store. It's actually our pages that have got our new design. So if you're going to look at what we've done with our brand, go on to search Caffeine Bullet on Amazon.co.uk or across Europe, and you'll be able to see the pages more our design there. But Caffeine Bullet is an energy chew. So if you imagine a Red Bull, but in the form of a sweet, and it exists primarily because caffeine's massively useful when you do endurance sports. It helps you run faster, it reduces the perception of pain and fatigue, releases fat cells into the bloodstream. And so we created this chew because it's something I wanted when I was running. I used to take caffeine pills, and racing across the Sahara Desert, I dropped my caffeine pill in the sands and actually lost it. It was it nearly lost me my position in the race, and that's why I decided there must be a better way to take caffeine during exercise. So created this chew, and the big difference between a chew and something like a drink is that the caffeine's absorbed as you're chewing, so it kicks a lot faster, and also means you've kind of got an energy drink without the bull, because it doesn't have all that sugar, it doesn't have the taurine, it doesn't have all of the nasties that often go into things like pre-workouts or energy drinks. So just kind of cleaner, faster fuel.
It's quite amazing. I must say, when I was reading your second slide, the one where we have the customer reviews, and it talks about spiking his trainings, mentioning to you before, not a big of a runner, but love cycling. And I was like, I need that. And I made me think, like, one customer review, and I was already going to buy it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's great actually about Amazon. And this isn't covered in the slides coming up, but what I found probably the most useful with Amazon reviews, other than direct sales, is it actually gives you your brand credibility globally. So I can go and speak to a sports store, or I can speak to a supermarket and say who we are. I can show them the products. I can try and convince them that we're going to sell if we're in their shop. But actually, the great thing about having a powerful brand on Amazon is that we have customers from shops coming to us because they discover you through Amazon, and they see your brand and they see the credibility in your reviews. They see all the feedback of customers. And the great thing is, having a powerful brand on Amazon comes down to just how many reviews do you have, how good does your page look. And so people from other countries don't know if you're a product they've not heard of that is absolutely massive in the UK and Europe, or whether you're a guy like me who's created a brand and just happens to have found a product that people really love on Amazon, but it's yet to explode kind of globally. And you can really create a brand that is the size of a multinational just through your Amazon pages.
So that's interesting. I think we're going already sideways even before question one. So I love this conversation. That's really what I love talking with entrepreneurs like you. So you're talking about brand awareness. So how important is that for a brand? How important is that for you?
Well, it partly depends on the nature of your products, but how I often think about it is in something like Amazon, the first sale is from advertising, and it's from keyword optimization. It's from getting an advert in front of someone, but actually your second sale, your repeat customer, that is your brand, because when people come back, it's the product, but most importantly, the brand that actually gets them to come and buy you again, and not to buy a competitor, not to buy something else. And particularly if we're just about to launch 3 new products, it's the brand that drives people to buy your other products, because that's what sticks in the memory. And it also tells the story of who you are as a company. And that means that's what customers buy into most.
So how did you actually go about building that expertise that you're describing now? How do you go about like understanding what you needed when you started?
Well, I think because there's almost 2 levels to that. Most people, when they think of brand, think of pictures, think of logos, but actually for me, the brand, you almost need to step back, and a brand is like, what does your company stand for? What does your company say? And so Caffeine Bullet, for example, we our ethos is we aim to energize the world to an active and healthy lifestyle. And so everything to do with our brand should reflect that. And when people think of brand, I think they think too narrowly. And actually, brand is every single word and every single thing you do that interacts with the customer. So every word of your email, the packaging of your envelopes, even. When we started, the stamps we used were whack, completely different to anyone else's. So I think firstly, you need to figure out what your brand represents before you then get the tools. Then from that point, it was a real mix of skills and tools that we use. I'm a great believer in the more people that get involved, the more likely you are to come up with good ideas. So we reached out to friends, and in terms of the logo, that bullet there, you can see that was done by a friend. Happens to be a designer. I didn't know she was a designer. She was an obstacle racer I raced against. The name I came up with, but having reached out to my friends and gone through about 20 different names. At one point, we're going to be Trout's Energy. We had some really bad ideas in there as well. But from that point on, it's a combination of YouTube and learning skills. I think things like Photoshop, video editing, it's so useful to be able to do it yourself, because as a small brand, it can be super expensive to use skilled individuals. And actually, realistically, for using a brand effectively, you want to be able to have your banner, your images, your pictures in so many different sizes to optimize the space in different areas of Amazon and just in general. And so going on YouTube and learning those skills, it saves you so much time to a certain extent, because you can then just make the small changes yourself. But actually, it just saves you so much money as well, because constantly having to make adjustments just adds up. In terms of the ideas themselves, asking your friends, but I often go on a website like Fiverr, where you can quite easily go and find designers very cheaply, who you then give them an approximate idea of what you're looking for, and they come back with all these massively varied ideas. And I'd use those as the framework for then deciding what my final brand name, brand logo would be, or brand imagery. So I think it's a mix of asking friends, asking your community, but once you start selling, actually start asking your customers, because they're the people that know your products sometimes better than you do, because they're using it in ways that you might not have foreseen, but they've taken it into their lives, and so they can reflect back what the product means to them and how they use the product. And your customers are so varied that you're gonna have designers out there. You're gonna have people who are more skilled than you. So a lot of the time it's asking, and it could be going in Facebook groups, asking people there, but just try and get your network as big as possible, because the skills are out there. It's just finding them, and often involving people in your journey turns them into customers, or stronger customers as well.
So in all of this, when did Amazon came into play, and why?
So Amazon, probably 18 months into, just under it, maybe a year, 18 months into selling. Prior to that, we'd done a Kickstarter to raise some funding. We then sold on our own website, sold to friends. And Amazon came along at a time where it was more curiosity rather than my intent of like, right, we need to be on Amazon to grow big. But actually, it came at a time when I think it's quite hard as just a product to break through into retail without a lot of money, or without huge branding behind you. And so Amazon was almost the easiest way to, I would say it's the biggest shopping window in the world. And it was the easiest way to try and get in front of customers without having to spend a huge amount on advertising, or without having to try and convince a Tesco, a Carrefour, that they need to bet the house on you. And it's so risky getting into supermarkets if you're not ready, because it's hard to get in. It's even harder to maintain a listing. So we went on Amazon, and since then it's just been a case of constant learning, subscribing to lots of email lists, lots of YouTube specialists. Some of them are specialists. Half the stuff is junk, half the stuff's amazing. Typically, I find if you follow people who are trying to sell you A, they'll teach you about B. So you almost need to always be following someone who's trying to sell you something else to what you're trying to learn from that individual, weirdly. But there's so many emails that I'm part of, and you just start to live and breathe it. And it truly has transformed our business, where it's given us, it's allowed us to become bigger off of Amazon. And it's also allowed us to go into new countries, which has been super useful, because the great thing about a strong brand is as soon as you open up in a new market, all of your reviews, all of your images just pop up there. And it's as if you've been there from the start, and you're this huge brand in this new country, even though you've just opened the doors.
So it's interesting. You mentioned you started like a year and a half into the trip. Looking backward, would you still wait this long to go on Amazon?
No, partly because Amazon advertising didn't a year and a half before I came on, it seemed you just put your shop up and everyone buys it. Whereas Amazon have been a bit smarter now, where they realize organic ranking is so powerful that they put adverts in there. I get up as soon as possible. I mean, I do think I haven't launched since Amazon's been so sophisticated, and now there is an element of it, from what I've read, it's really good to launch quickly. And so I think it's important to make sure you've got your brand strong, your imagery good, and your positioning relevant when you launch, because there's nothing like a powerful launch then just gets everything rolling. You need enough sales to get enough reviews. You need enough reviews to then look like an established brand and to get people's faith. And so if you're launching without good pictures, without a strong kind of USP or a strong differentiator or purpose, then you can almost get, in the same way a strong launch can give you a positive spiral, a weak launch can give you a negative one, where if you have months of sales, if you start picking up negative reviews without enough positive reviews, if you just have a really low conversion rate, it becomes very hard then to turn that around without a complete overhaul. So I definitely say get on as soon as you can, but make sure when you launch, you appear to be a polished, finished product and a polished brand.
Right. No, I get that. That's super important, right? And I think we saw your reviews. You have very wonderful reviews, and I'm sure you're probably reading all of them and adjusting to them when something comes in, right?
Yeah, and we get really bad reviews as well. We're quite a weird product because caffeine doesn't help everyone. 10% of people don't respond to caffeine at all. So we know that if we asked 100 people, 10% of people won't benefit from our product. And not everyone knows if they respond to caffeine or not. So we do get bad reviews because for some people, they're not what they want them to be. But even if you have the perfect product, you will get bad reviews. And so you've got to try and listen to that. And the main thing reviews I find is the stronger your brand, the stronger the connection with the customer. And that means, for one, they're more likely to review you positively because you're part of their life, and you're a reflection of. We're actually part of people's journey because we're quite lucky in that if someone uses our shoes, they're more likely to hit their goal. We've just had the London Marathon with the number of people posting, tagging in Caffeine Bullet because they've smashed their personal bests. So they want to share that story, and they feel like they owe you. You know, they feel like they're truly blessed to have discovered your brand. But particularly if you've got strong branding and personal branding as well, they feel like they've got a relationship with me as an individual. And so they want to help out this person that they hopefully quite like. But it also means if you've got a strong brand, your customers who have bad experiences will think, this is a person who I trust to do the right thing. And they'll come to you and they'll give you the chance to resolve their issues, to actually, we know that our flavors, because caffeine is very bitter, some people are super sensitive to it more than others. And so some people just prefer one of our flavors to another. So we say, if you don't like one of our flavors, let us know. We'll send you the other one for free. Partly because we don't want to get bad reviews, partly because we know that this is a person who has been through the whole of our marketing and advertising, and we've paid to get them to be a customer. They definitely want to be a customer. So let's give them every chance we have of them still being a customer by just sending them another flavor. And hopefully they'll go, thank you for this. This is actually what I wanted. Now I'm a really big fan of yours. So I can't remember the question because it was such a long answer of mine, but hopefully the answer is in there somewhere.
No, absolutely. It's amazing to listen to how you're thinking about growing your product and growing your brand. So what I'm curious is, in all of this, how did Amazon help you, or how did you use Amazon to achieve your goal of being there for your customer, being connected and learning what they want? So what are what are maybe the top things that you think you did right on Amazon, or you would recommend to all of your peers listening right now?
Yeah, I guess there's a huge difference between how Amazon helped us and the right things we've done. To go for how Amazon helped us, I mean, the most obvious one is it puts your brand in front of people. But I think for a lot of products on Amazon, because of white labeling, drop shipping, it is quite hard to actually identify, what the voice of your brand is, or even understand sometimes who your customer is. And if you don't know who your customer is, you don't know how to position your product to your customer. And that's where Amazon is amazing, because as soon as you start advertising, you get to see all of the keywords that they give you, that someone has typed to get to your product. And a great example of this is, so in the UK and to a lesser extent Europe, because of my own network, I've been a fairly successful runner. I've got a very strong running podcast. We're known through my network as a sports brand, as a sports product. So people who are runners know to search for us, have looked for us, have heard of us. Whereas in America, we launched out there, and as much as my ego would love it, we're not really well known out there. I'm not really well known out there relatively. And so actually we've discovered that while sport is our heart in the UK, in the States, actually we're used far more as a lifestyle product. And we do have runners, cyclists, swimmers, gym goers who use us, but actually we get a lot of people who are more kind of tired parents or shift workers, or people who go clubbing, or students. And we know this from what they're typing. And so that helps with our brand, because we position ourselves differently in our keywords and in our titles and in our A+ content in America, because we're used in a different way by a different customer. And so you want to reflect back in your brand who your customer is. As simple as if more females buy your product, put a female as your main picture. If more males do. If older people, if younger people, if sporty people, if people who, whatever it may be, you want to reflect that back in your keywords, in your wording, in your messaging, but also in reinforcing what the benefit of your product is. And so the benefit in sport is about personal best, faster kick, but actually for lifestyle, it could be just the convenience of having, four of these in your pocket, and being able to just take 4 energy chews, put them in the glove compartment, put them in your bag. So it's very different in how you position yourself. And so Amazon data has told us that whole story and has allowed us to actually create our brand to meet our customer. In terms of the tools we've used, A+ content has been really great. We're in Launchpad as well, Amazon Launchpad, and that's helped us with more enabled content. But also things like videos. We didn't have any videos before Amazon. We created them for Amazon. We've got some pretty bad videos on Amazon. We've got some okay ones. I wouldn't say we've got any brilliant ones yet, just because we haven't had the budget or the time. But I mean, literally one of our adverts is just packets of these moving around the screen to some really cheesy music that just has words underneath it. And that's purely because from the podcast, a friend made that video, and I thought, well, let's advertise it on Amazon, see if people like it. And for some reason, people liked it for some keywords. So we've just kept that video that probably wouldn't meet our brand compliance rules now. But Amazon almost in some ways gives you the ideas of how to meet your customer. And because it rewards you to do the new ways they want you to reach their customer, it forces you to actually move your brand in new directions to meet that customer. So all of those things together, but let the data lead you, because the data is your customer. And if you don't know your customer, then you can't position your brand correctly.
So I'm hearing a lot of interesting things. I'm hearing data, I'm hearing A+, I'm hearing experimentation, right? Like ultimately you had that video and you said, let's try, right?
Yeah, completely. And the good thing is you can A/B test so many things. So your imagery, the most important thing of all of your listing is that first image. Well, the review, actually, the review star rating. If you've got 1-star review, kill that ASIN, rework it. But your imagery, the very first picture, test that image again and again and again, because the perfect size, the perfect everything in there needs to capture what the essence of your brand is in your product, and even look at the search and see what the products are that you're competing with. See if you stand out. We've got a new product we're bringing out. We've done some A/B testing by just running adverts of all the different images. The product doesn't exist yet. We know what it is. I've got the samples in my cupboard there, but it's not ready to sell. But we've been testing which gets more clicks, because we know our brand needs to be the one that looks the most kick-ass for the click on Amazon, because even more than someone picking it up in a shop, that is going to have more impact on the sales of our business. So have a play around, A/B test everything, and just let the data lead you, because your product can be positioned in so many ways, and that is what the brand is. And you potentially could even have two types of products. I do actually know a friend who his dad's company has been around since the 70s. It's a jewelry company. Off Amazon, they have two completely different brands of exactly the same product. One of them is 3 times the price in a nicer box. That is it. And it meets a different customer with a different brand. And you can do that on Amazon by changing slightly your packaging, changing slightly the bundles, and changing that first image.
So I like how you're talking about some of the products that we have developed over the years, like A+ content, like advertisement, like, manager experiments to really test your products. You also mentioned Launchpad. I'm not sure everyone in the audience knows Launchpad. So would you be able to describe a bit what Launchpad has been to you, and why was it important when you started on Amazon?
Yeah, so Launchpad it's almost the incubator for Amazon companies or Amazon products. So you can apply. I don't know if it's in every country in Europe. I think it is.
I think it is. It's not my expertise, but I do think it is. So I think everyone can go on Seller University and discover more. That's a point I want to make on what you said before. There is plenty of people doing YouTube videos, but my recommendation is, here at the conference, we have booths. You can go in there and learn more. But on Seller Central, you're going to find Seller University. So next time you're looking for advice, I'm not going to tell you don't go on YouTube, but even before, go on Seller University, you'll find great videos. And there are some about Launchpad. So anyone interested, you can go on Seller Central and then start learning more about Launchpad. But back to you, David. So you said, incubator for new products.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and absolutely. There's loads of good Amazon content actually, and if I'm honest, you need to be taking in your expertise from Amazon and from off Amazon, because Amazon there's an element of, they know a lot about how their platform is. There's an element of Amazon will want you to do certain things because that's what they're pushing. And so if you do what Amazon wants you to do, it rewards you. But there's also an element of Amazon's not as much of an expert as some product experts. So you need to get it all in together, and just make sure you're not breaking Amazon rules, because that really comes back on you badly. And we've been quite careful about ensuring that. But yeah, try and mix the two, and just take in but the good thing is you can just test it, just try it and try it and try it. And you can change your listing day to day, second to second, and almost see hour by hour, because the rankings change within 3 to 4 hours. You can get very fast feedback on when something's working. Just make sure you're testing it in a way that you're not testing it at peak time versus non-peak time. And that's why there's a difference in your numbers.
What's the biggest value you got out of Launchpad? I would bet advertising and marketing knowledge, but I'm curious to hear your feedback on Launchpad.
So Launchpad is, so if we've not explained Launchpad very well, one of the benefits of Launchpad is they help promote your brand, and they also then they give you discounts on things like vouchers, things. I think for me, one of the biggest benefits is just having someone from Amazon to talk to. it can be quite hard to liaise when you've got an issue and you don't understand the system. And having someone there who knows the system has been really helpful. But what we found as well, Launchpad has all these separate charts. And if you're a bestseller in your category, that's hugely powerful. Or if you're top of a list of certain other categories, you can, or preferred product, you suddenly get these stars or you get these labels on your organic ranking and your listing. So Launchpad, I've found one of the most useful things is they give you this whole other set of categories that you can be the bestseller in. And that means it's easier to get those stars, to get those labels. And those labels are massively important for brands, because if someone's not sure of who your brand is, it gives you that instant credibility. Or if someone's not quite sure of what to choose of 2 or 3, this makes you stand out. And this is the kind of Amazon approves of this, you should buy this. And so for us, it's actually helped probably most in when we went on Dragon's Den, like it's just called Shark Tank equivalent, and had massive sales off the back of that for a while. And that then meant we were the best seller in quite a few categories from Launchpad. And in terms of our product advertising, suddenly when you look down a product page, you could see alternative products, bestseller, Caffeine Bullet, and all of our sales went just crazy through those adverts compared to any other advert we've ever run. So it's weird. That might not be the benefit for you. It might be launching in a new country, being able to get discounts in a new country, translating of pages into new webs, into new languages, stuff like that. But yeah, we found it really useful, mainly just to have that direct connection with someone from Amazon, which has been really helpful.
That's great to hear. I think, this morning we were hearing some of my colleagues, Xavier and Ryan, who leads the European seller business and the Spanish one, talking about like some of these features, especially like you mentioned, like labels. We recently introduced a label that identifies small and medium businesses because we care. We want to make sure customers have the opportunity to buy from small and medium businesses, so they know they buy from David. They don't buy from some like huge corporation. Just introduce artificially some additional brand. So it's great to see that it worked for you, as it did for thousands and more than that other sellers. We've talked already a lot of tools already. Like we talk about like images, we talk about A+ pages. You show the brand store that for one company with one product, it's a bit of a different brand store. But I hear you're introducing new products, so that might change very quickly. What are other Amazon tools, if any, that you leverage that you think are important for you?
Well, I mean, we've using the advertising is incredible. Downloading the stats there. Looking at search volume is really useful as well, because that almost is, if you haven't done lots of advertising, that's the nearest thing, because firstly it tells you what people want, but also it gives you an idea of what people are typing. So we could go on there and type in caffeine or energy, and we get a sense of actually how people perceive these different categories, and how we therefore should position ourselves, how we should create our brand to meet that demand. A+ content would be great, and kind of the enhanced content we've got through Launchpad has been really useful. It's slightly better than the A+ content, which gives higher conversion rates. And then being able to upload your videos as well, it means you can get on the bottom of other people's pages, because if you go down, basically go and look on a product page, go and just explore Amazon. Wherever you see something that isn't an advert, create that, because Amazon is putting that there for free. And so in terms of our brand, we've created quite a few videos, and we're going to do quite a few more, knowing that it just appears on our competitors' brand pages, product pages, because Amazon knows what Amazon wants: engaging content, videos more engaging. I think Amazon's quite clever as well, that Google wants video. So the more videos on Amazon, the better for everyone. So start loading videos to your pages, to your brands, to your stores. Load more than you'll see on the page, because they'll get out there. and you'll never know where they've popped up, but you will get sales because of it.
Okay, very good. What about the logistics aspect? Is that something that you consider?
The logistics, kind of FBA and stuff like that, or
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we had a mix of, we were FBA fairly quickly, which was partly due to laziness. It's just easier for me, but also, and it is a consideration to think, because actually you can almost have more personality if you're sending the product, because we'd send our product in either gold or bright pink bags because we thought it was quite fun. But our delivery methods were pretty rubbish and pretty slow. And it also, we were using Royal Mail. Royal Mail's not quite as reliable as Amazon. And so we've now moved all of our, we've even moved our own website onto Amazon Fulfillment because of that quicker speed. But it has meant we don't put as many flyers in that have got as much personality. And so that's something to be aware of. So I think what we do very well is we email a lot. The number of emails you're allowed to use, we have an auto emailer. And in those emails, I put my big face. Like on our packets, I've got my big face saying, here's David, it's got my story, it's got everything about us. And your logistics actually is so important to your brand, in that it can destroy your brand if something gets lost, if the packaging is just rubbish, or depending on the returns policy, also talks about whether they can trust your brand or they like your brand. And so we found with logistics, we've used every step of that, and we thought, how do we caffeine bullet this up? And so the whole way through, our brand is slightly over energetic humor, where hyperboles are everywhere. And so we've done that in our emails. With when you receive a product from us, your name is heroic. It's always heroic. So you'd receive your package to Heroic Giovanni. We try and cram in brands at every single step of our logistics. And ultimately, if the logistics are bad, it doesn't matter how good your brand is, how good your product is, because the customer is going to be angry. And so,
right. So I take prime delivery is probably the closest you can get to caffeine bullet in terms of speed, right?
Well, that's the thing, right? What's the point in having a faster energy chew if you can't even get it for like a week? So we need to almost be consistent in our brand with our speed of delivery. So now even our website's is expedited Amazon, because we think it's what the customer wants, and it fits with our brand as well.
Lovely. So David, we're almost about at the end of our time, and thank you for sharing so many aspects of your experience. What are the top 3 tips that you would want to share with the audience today about your experience on Amazon? So I think we mentioned them, but like just to summarize, what do you think are the top 3 things that you would encourage the audience to go out, try and do?
Well, I guess go back to square one and figure out what your brand is. Like, what do you stand for? What is your message? What do you represent? You're not a product, you're a brand. So figure that out first. Are you quality? Are you super convenient? Are you, just figure that out, get a mission statement and breathe that into everything. So the next thing is get data, let the data lead you. That leads you to your customer. It tells you what your customer wants, and you can actually reverse engineer your brand if you're not sure of what it should represent based off that data. So Amazon Ads is great for that. To a certain extent, you can look at the search volume for different products on Amazon, or even looking around and just seeing what differentiates you from your competitor, or just understanding what you think the real benefit of your products is to your customer. I'd say then the third thing is just inject your personality absolutely everywhere. I mean, we've got QR codes with like, go on, scan me, I dare you. We've talked about the pictures. There's little jokes within lots of what we do, and everything is very, very personalized. And it all comes back to my story, which is we've got it there. Me finishing a race where I got engaged. In our email, we talk about why I started the brand. You know, when I was running across the desert, if you look at our page, it's got a picture of me leading the London Marathon on caffeine bullets. So it's you just ooze brand, because brand is every single thing you do is your business. So just think, what is my voice in how I do this, and ooze it everywhere, because ultimately people buy from people, people trust people. And if you can get your brand to ooze the personality of a person, then you've got that connection with the customer, which means you get better reviews, repeat customers, and fewer negative reviews.
Well, David, I want to stress out your second point on data, because I really like the fact that it is data, but even more, you said what I think Amazon has built its success on for all of its sellers, which is start from the customers and work backwards. You know, what you're saying is that I need to understand what my customers want. I need to understand what they search for, what they crave for, and I need to understand how my product will satisfy them. So I really like to stress that point, because it's so important. We've seen like thousands and thousands of your colleagues successfully conquering more and more customers because they listen to them. And if they do that, they'll succeed, and they never have an issue, because, as you said, if customer's not happy, I'm going to ship a different one, and I'll conquer the customer. So again, David, thank you for energizing us. That was really clearly a caffeine bullet in the conference today. So thanks for your time. Good luck for your venture, and for improving your products even further and getting more customers on board with your product. And thanks again.
And thanks for having me, and good luck, everyone. I'm on LinkedIn. Shoot me a question if you've got any. But I hope I've helped, and I hope your businesses thrive.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for listening. I hope that David, and I'm sure David, shared helpful ideas, insights. It's not going to work for everyone. Every brand is different, as David said. But I really welcome you to try things, because, as you know, with David, trying, experimenting, and working backward from the customer is what's going to drive your success. Thanks, everyone, and bye now.